Welcome back, frenemies, to episode 36. I'm the man in the middle, Chris to my right, the commish Sean, and the man of the people's back this week, Ryan Meckes. We had a special shout out to John and Josiah for jumping in on those Facebook discussions, the start, sit questions. The man behind those, golden little advice.
Unfortunately, me, I didn't go so great this week. I'm sorry, guys. I'll be better next week.
Got to
jump back in.
But it's week one.
Yeah,
You'll have
it's a difficult prediction.
It's a crapshoot.
The people I gave them to start actually played well. It's just I told them to sit like Deshaun Jackson, who just went off for like.
Oh, I know.
Who could have known?
Who could have known there? A little shout out to Josiah. A couple episodes back, we talked about little things that we did like as kids, and I talked about collecting sports cards. And remember that kid I told you I gave all those cards to?
Yep.
That took him out and made me really freak out because he didn't keep them in. That's Josiah.
Nice.
So that was kind of full circle. I'm like, I wonder if he listened to that podcast. I'm definitely talking about you, bud. But let's get right into it. The talk of the town, the news that matters here. We have some big news, injuries and drama. Commish, you want to take this on? Let's go.
Yeah. So we'll start off with Antonio Brown saga continues. This is crazy. I've never seen anything like this in sports.
Like going to New England.
Every single day there's something new. So the latest, as of the recording of this, because it probably will change
every day.
He's been indicted, not indicted. He's been accused of a couple of sexual assault things. I kind of did some research into it. It looks like this has been going on for a while with this girl. So we're not going to really comment on because we don't know everything going on with it. As far as fantasy goes, I don't say drop him, but if you really need something else, it's now to the point where you may even need to just drop him. And if you just don't, even morally, I don't have many leagues, but I might think about it. I did it with Kareem Hunt last year. I was just like, I'm not dealing with this.
She says she has text messages.
Yeah.
And so she may actually have some solid evidence.
Evidence there. Trade away. If you got some guys who are not listening to the news,
that would be the best advice.
Sell at any price there, get something back because it's going to be... I don't think it'll be much value this season.
He probably won't play. Bill Belichick doesn't put up with distractions.
No.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Tyreek Hill, my wide receiver one in our podcast league here. And,
another upstanding man, right?
Another upstanding man. But this time, we're talking about injuries.
Yep.
He goes right in, and I think the big implications here, he's out. They're putting anything from 4 to 6 weeks. Who knows? They're not putting him on the IR. That's telling me that they're looking at opinions and doing all that they can to see when they can get him back. But, man, you know who really did well in his absence? Sammy Watkins.
I know, yeah. He was on my bench against this guy over here.
Still won. You still won.
I still won, thank God, or I would have never forgiven myself. But... just kind of looking at the outlook, I think until further notice, Sammy Watkins is definitely wide receiver one. Like, he's just going to slot right into that Tyreek Hill spot. And as we saw, he's capable enough to do so. So you're not going to expect, a 42-point week every single week. But, that offense is so good. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, killing it.
He could keep putting up good numbers.
Yeah, I think you're, you just... don't be scared to put him right into any lineup. That's the obvious.
Oh, yeah. But that was a draft steal there.
Yeah.
With his production and where he was going in drafts, if you're out there and you're one of those guys that picked him up, you are feeling like you won the lottery in fantasy.
Yeah.
Because you weren't expecting a wide receiver one production from him.
All right, and then...
on to our party cue this week. Hit it.
Ian, would you like to go to a party in my pants?
Get my horrible dancers in.
All right. Let's go.
All right, this week's party question. What was your best book or book series you read as a kid, as a child? We're looking at at least middle school age and younger. All right, Ryan, you're going to kick us off here. What is that book or that book series that you were big into? We're going a little nerdy this week.
We're always nerdy.
Great. This is great. Great topic because I don't know about you guys, but I haven't read that much in recent history.
A
little bit
it's
more.
Ended.
but as a kid, for some reason, I think most of us read a lot.
Yeah.
And for me, it was The Indian in the Cupboard. I thought that was cool. I was always I loved the American Indians. I loved researching them and learning about them. So as a kid, when I read that book, it was just like the most incredible book to me. I loved it.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, I loved the movie. I actually never read the book.
I haven't seen the movie.
Really?
Yeah, I might have to.
Oh man, it's a classic, but I'm sure it looks awful now.
I'm sure it does. Yeah.
But it was good, so I could see how the book would be fantastic.
Oh man! All right, Sean, what was your book?
All right,
your
so
series
mine
here?
was more of a series. I don't know if anybody out there remembers this, but the Magic Treehouse.
Magic Treehouse.
It was kind of just this book series that would go. I mean, it was real short books. They would go on these little adventures. I think it was like a brother and sister. But I could not get enough of this. Like I remember going to the library and like the new edition would come out because they got up to like 50 something of them.
Dang.
They just kept coming out with them. Like every month there'd be a new one. And so I'd be like going to the library and hoping, fingers crossed, that there's one of the books left and somebody hasn't taken them. So it was just I don't know. I remember staying up late reading them. It was just a good time. It's got me thinking like I need to read again. Like it was that's fun. I just
I started picking it back up with Spanish because I have to read for Spanish and like it's awesome. Like I totally missed out on it for the last like 8 years, but it's incredible.
I think I turned into a slow reader because I didn't read as much, but I started reading a little more as an adult. For me, it wasn't really a series or a book. Well, it wasn't a series. It was a sports encyclopedia. So I remember in Charleston, South Carolina,
makes too much sense,
elementary school days, we go to the library. That's exactly where I went. I used to do it now. If I go to Barnes & Noble or something, I'm going to the sports section. But it was this blue hardback book, really tall book there, and there was a series, and I would read up mostly just football and basketball players, but I would skim through and we're talking about the best athletes in history from that time in the early 2000s or something.
Chris was always destined to be in the middle.
I was
destined to be.
I just jumped on sports. It was terrible. I should have read more variety there, but that's all I cared about back then.
Yeah, and today, right?
And today. That's pretty much all I'm reading there. So that's our party question. Jump on Facebook when this goes up there. Tell us your favorite book series and stuff, or make fun of specifically me for not reading enough as a kid. But going to our next segment, we got Fantasy Football Tinder.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, that's for all our fans out there. Joey was my man growing up. I remember as a kid looking, I was like, I want to say that to a girl one day. Still haven't, but it's still there, that dream.
Yep.
But we're going to talk about our players to kind of like start coming off of last week. So we're looking from production from week 1 going into week 2. Sean, I'm going right to you with your kind of your start sit. Who you swiping left, swiping right on this week?
Okay, so I think we determined that swiping left was a good thing or a bad thing?
So it's a bad thing.
It's a bad thing.
Right's
okay,
good.
so I'm going to swipe right first then.
Ooh, swipe right first. Let's start. We're going right to the good.
Yeah, I'm going to start John Brown. I think John Brown is going to be a great option. A lot of people picked him up off of waiver wires this week.
Yeah.
He got 10 targets last week from Josh Allen. Just out of the gate, I don't know if anybody expected him to be that number 1 option right away, but it's pretty clear that he's going to target him a lot. The other thing is they're going to be playing the Giants, who last week played Dallas and got just annihilated in the passing game. 405 passing yards.
That's ridiculous.
So the matchup is just so juicy. I think John Brown, I mean, we know his talent. He's always had these illness problems, but it looks like he might be over that.
He's got sickle cell disease.
Yeah, yep.
And he's also just a small guy.
Yeah.
But if he can stay on the field, bro.
I'll say if he's healthy, I think that, there's not many targets in Buffalo. So
hey, he was a wide receiver 10. He came up wide receiver 1 last week.
Okay.
And, in a half-point league, looking about just under 22 points. Who expected out of a Buffalo wide receiver?
And then he's got another great matchup. So I think if you're wondering if you can start him this week, I'm not going to recommend him over the top 15 guys, but he's definitely in that 20 range for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's go straight to your sit. Who you swiping left on?
All right, so this is like a collective sit here. It's pretty obvious, but they're playing the Bears, the Broncos. Just all Broncos, stay away. You saw what the Bears did to Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be a very similar, if not worse, case for the Broncos. There's not even that many great fantasy options. So you're looking at Phillip Lindsay. We still don't know how that Royce Freeman, Phillip Lindsay split's going to come out. So I would not recommend starting them. Joe Flacco, nobody's starting him.
What about Courtland Sutton?
Yeah, I'm going to say Courtland Sutton had a pretty good game, but it's the Bears, man. I think you got to just take this week off, put him on the bench. I don't think you're going to be happy with any of them.
Yeah, I think Sutton might be a flex option when he finishes wide receiver 2 last week. You're lucky you get flex points against that Bears defense. I like those. I like those choices. I'm gonna go swipe right here on another Buffalo Bill, and it's Devin Singletary. We've been watching him.
Your boy.
He's my boy. We've been talking about Everybody's been talking about him, and I think he kind of proved it in week 1, not even being an RB1 on his own team, and he showed up. You know, he put up a good amount of yards with the least amount of touches almost when it comes to Frank Gore, and I think he, again, going off what you said, he's got a favorable matchup, as in going to the Cowboys, they're going to be passing a lot.
Yeah.
And he is used more than Frank Gore in the passing game. So I like
playing
that.
From behind for sure.
Yes. Overtaken, you know, when I say favorable matchup, it's just because I think the Giants are going to be just giving up everything there. And then on my swipe left here, I'm sitting Jameis Winston.
Okay.
That man was awful. I was watching the second half of that game.
It's time to pull the plug on that guy.
Well, you know, and guys were looking
for so many reasons.
They were all in love with the Arians thing. Oh, hey, they got a new coach. They're going to throw the ball more, and he's going to be a little more precise.
No,
sit him week 2.
He's never been precise or clutch.
Yeah, take the chance and watch him prove it. Your fantasy lineup doesn't need to take a hit on a hope here.
There's so many other quarterbacks you can start. I agree. I'd be definitely willing to drop him and just move on.
Yeah.
So
unless you're like a believer in there, but I think go to the safe pick.
All right, Ryan, who you got as your start here when you're going to swipe right?
I'm swiping right on Philip Dorsett.
Okay.
Because he's kind of like that guy who was probably on the waiver wire until today, Wednesday, and I think that there's going to be plenty to go around in that offense. You'll definitely have a solid flex out of him. But this week in particular, facing the Dolphins, you can confidently start him. I mean, he had
exactly
4 receptions, 95 yards.
We're Dolphins fans, for those that don't remember.
Ridiculous. And honestly, he looked to be the most alive out there on the Patriots.
He was the deep threat for sure. So,
which I did not expect.
Yeah.
I mean, all of them are good. Josh Gordon and him are both the deep threat guys, but I would keep your eye on him.
If you have a Patriots, start him. That's the moral of the story.
Anybody against the Dolphins, start
them because they are just.
Garbage.
There's been reports they want out. Players want out.
Players, we're getting the agents.
Yep,
they're done.
We need to move to Miami because I think we can just walk into the stadium and find a seat open.
Have a job.
I was saying we might have a job soon.
I got to get the old arm open, warmed up for me.
You saw my kick.
I'm gonna get some Uncle
as you warm up
Rico
your
action
arm.
here. All right. So who's your swipe left on? Who you sitting this week, Ryan?
I'm gonna sit. Okay, this is tough. But Larry Fitzgerald, I think, is gonna disappear.
Okay.
I think he had a great first week.
Yeah.
Proud of him. Super happy. It's great. All of us love Larry Fitzgerald.
Who cannot love
Seeing
Larry
him
Fitz?
do that, catch those 40-yard passes was just good for all of our football souls. But the fact of the matter is he's going against a much tougher defense. And at this point, you have to think if you're the Ravens, am I going to start Jimmy on Larry? Who's going to cover who?
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't. Maybe he gets the number 1 coverage because honestly, he is clearly the number 1 guy.
Yeah, he was the target.
Yeah, he was the guy. So he's going to be. I think he's going to disappear again. Unfortunately, I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm not comfortable starting him. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether that was all Dolphins or that Ravens defense is actually legit.
Right.
That's the hard part about week 1 is we're just still making these judgments on only a 1-week sample size, which makes these decisions a lot harder.
You can put him in as your flex if you're desperate.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to go about it.
Don't have high expectations.
Yeah,
for him,
you're just not expecting people to be like, oh, now I have my wide receiver 2 in Larry Fitzgerald because of that first
what they
week.
do with Larry and stuff, and they just adopted it from before, but now he's used as a super slot guy. Watched the end of the game when the Cardinals came back to force overtime, to put him in motion, doing that quick dragging route, that quick out route, making that corner move with them, and Larry's so they're making him get open. Because you're right, he's still the number 1 target. I mean, Kirk over there, who everyone's waiting to bust out there, could not turn anything into a big play.
Yep.
So it's still Larry.
It was really absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And cool.
All right. Well, on to our next segment, Commish. Oh, I love this music.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well. How the turntables.
Oh, man. I can just look at that part of the episode there. All right.
This man is hearing these for the first time. That's why he's laughing so hard.
All right, so here we got players who are about to buck the trend or be better or worse.
Yeah.
But let's look at it again. This is from week 1 to week 2. I'm going to start this segment off here. Someone that we didn't see much fantasy value in last week, and it's Kirk Cousins. Captain Kirk in Minnesota. They didn't need to pass the ball. The
true.
defense was short.
I know.
Yardage,
I had Dalvin Cook. They didn't.
I know. I was texting him. If you guys don't know, I traded Dalvin Cook to him last year. I mean, yes, I did win the title, but I think I gave away the future as I'm watching that game. But I think they're going against the Packers. It's going to be a shootout. He's going to get more than 10 attempts out there, so he's going to be a safe pick. If you're a guy dropping Jameis Winston, looking for some safer numbers, Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
Pick him on up there.
So what? Do you know what game he's playing? Is it like a?
Is it a Monday night or a Thursday?
Oh, it's a regular Sunday game.
Regular Sunday game.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you're right then. I think you're okay.
You're not a
It's
fan
not
of
a big
prime
time.
time.
He's not a prime time quarterback.
Kirk
Yeah.
Cousins, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. So
he has
true.
struggled in that spotlight.
All right, Sean, who's your guy? I like this pick.
He is my guy.
He is your man.
I've been talking up that I like Kerryon Johnson all offseason, but he disappointed last week, and it was painful. I had him in a few leagues, and he just was bad. Like, I can't get around it. He had 16 carries. I think he totaled like 40-something yards. That's just not going to get it done.
It was against a porous defense, too.
So he's getting an even better matchup maybe even this week. That's kind of why I think he can flip this around. He's playing the Chargers, who last week played the Colts, and they put 208 yards rushing on the Chargers. Derwin James is still out. He's going to be out for a while. I think this defense is going to really struggle to stop the run until he comes back. So Kerryon, the talent is what we fell in love with him. I think it's still there. It may just be taking a week to get this all figured out, how the carries are going to go. He dominated carries. It was a little closer than I would like. I think it was 11 carries for C.J. Anderson, 16 for Kerryon Johnson. But, if he's going to get that, 20 touches, gets a couple catches, then I think you can trust him this week. I'm not saying that I think you definitely need to temper your expectations for the season. He's probably not going to be an RB1.
Right.
But you can definitely start him as an RB2 for this week. That's what I'm saying.
Ryan, go for your guy.
Okay, so I say this with an asterisk.
Asterisk it up.
I think James Conner, he'll get a little bit better. The Steelers as a unit will get a little better, but I would not say to. I would say to be ready to change your mind on him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I say for now, don't freak out. I guess that's what I'm saying. Is don't freak out on James Conner yet or the Steelers yet. I think they'll get rolling slightly, but I've always thought that without their big three, and that the Steelers are going to take a step back. I think James Conner takes a step back this season. Temper your expectations, but he will not be they're going to get a little better. You'll see a little better than what you saw last week.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of play calling too. Like they were trying to figure it out, and the Patriots figured it out before they can go. Because I was expecting a little more James Conner on that Sunday night matchup too.
Which maybe they should have.
Maybe they should have. Anyways, so that's our turntable segment there. If you guys agree or disagree, All right.
Hopefully we're right.
Hopefully we're right there. Guys, as we're going out, some things to remind you, jump on there on our Facebook page, ask us questions in the morning, in between church services, before, right after.
We'll be on there. I'm probably going to post a
Yeah.
place for you guys to comment with your start sits. So jump in there, like and subscribe. And that's all we got for you guys today. So thanks for listening.
Deuces.